Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Bugs Books, where we talk about books. So before we get started with today's video, I did want to, well, first of all, I hope y'all had a wonderful holiday and that you'll have a great New Year's Eve tonight and a great New Year's and a great 2026. So just well wishes from me to you for that. Before I get started, just a quick housekeeping thing. For those of you who watched my November kind of spiritual talk video where I said that I'd be doing this new series, if you watched it and you liked it, thank you so much. That was very nice of you. But if you're wondering where December's video is, don't worry, it is coming. To tell you the truth, like, I made up like a list of topics to talk about, and I was very hesitant with any of those topics this month, just like they just didn't feel right, which I think really was the Lord kind of pausing me because he had a topic for me. Because when I finally did come up with a topic, which was like not till after Christmas, I was like, oh, this is it. This is the topic that I need to talk about. However, since, you know, it took till after Christmas for me to come up with that, that video will probably be coming at the beginning of January. So just so you know, I have not given up on this series after like one video. No, I'm still doing it. It just took me a little bit to come up with the right topic for this month, and so you can look for that in the first week of January if you're interested. The next piece of housekeeping is I came up with a title for that series because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to call it, but I am going to call it Come and Hear, which I got from Psalm 66 verse 16. It says, "Come and hear, all you who fear God, and I will declare what he has done for my soul." I love it. I love that verse. I think that that verse is basically like the Great Commission in the Psalms. Like it's what we're all meant to do as Christians, is tell others about Jesus. And so I thought it would be the perfect title for this series, because that's what I'm trying to do here. Is I'm just trying to talk about Jesus and about faith. And it reminds me of, when I read that verse, it reminded me of like the woman at the well, which I think that her story is like the Great Commission personified. Like, she met Jesus, she realized who she was, and she immediately went back to town and was like, everybody, you have to come and hear this guy, you know? And that's what we're meant to do as Christians. And so, yeah, we are going to be calling this series Come and Hear, so you can look for Come and Hear episode 2 coming in the first week of January. Okay, housekeeping topics aside, now let's talk about what we're talking about today, which is one of my favorite videos to do every year. It is my top 10 books of 2025. Now, I've said this before, but I'll say it again for anybody who's new here. This list includes only fiction, so I don't include any of the nonfiction books that I read this year. It's only fiction, and it's also only books that I read for the first time this year. So I do like to reread. I have my comfort reads, but I don't include those on this top 10 list, because then like my favorites would probably show up again and again. This list is just for books that I read for the first time in the year, and fiction books. So without further ado, let's get into the countdown. Number 10 I read is The Glass Cottage by Alyssa Schwarz. This is the first book in the Prescott family series. I think that there's a little novella that comes before this as like a prequel. I haven't read it yet. I plan to, but this is the first actual book in the series. And it follows a girl named Iris. Oh, so it has two timelines, by the way. So in the historical timeline, it's about Iris. Sorry, I read this in January, so I'm trying to think back on my synopsis. So the historical timeline is about Iris, and she is in the Colorado Gold Rush, and I think her dad's like a gem surveyor. So there's that. And then in the modern day timeline, you have Abigail Prescott, who is returning to her small Colorado town to help her great aunt, restore their family antique shop. And she is having help from her childhood friend, Benjamin. And they discover Iris's diary. And so they have a little I think it's a little bit of a mystery where they're trying to figure out who Iris was and what this diary is and all that. It's a super fun book. It's 5 stars, which this is my top 10 list, so every book on here is going to be 5 stars, just to let you know. Spoiler alert, they're all 5 stars. But yeah, I really liked it. It was good. Number 9 in my top 10 list is To Love a Beast by Karen Witemeyer. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling set in 1800s Texas, as all of Karen Witemeyer's books are. She writes all in Texas, all in the 19th century or so. And so there is Everett, who he was like an elite guy from New York City, very rich family, you know, very, I mean, it's like the 19th century version of celebrities, right? Like, you don't have actual celebrities, but you have the rich people that showed up in the newspapers. But he gets scarred, and so he runs off to Texas to live. And then we have, her name is Callista, which I think is a really cute name. She and her father are bookbinders, and Everett hires them to bind some books in his library, but her father gets injured, and so she goes alone. And yeah, it takes off from there, Beauty and the Beast retelling. The only reason this is 9 and not higher is because it's a novella, and whenever I read like novellas or short books, I always wish they were longer, and I wish this one was longer. But otherwise, it was excellent, and if it had been like a full-length novel, it would have been way higher on the list for me, but that's just a personal preference. So yeah. Number 8 on the list is Love in the Castle Library by Swindell. This book is the second book in the Castle Library series, and I actually read this one first because I was on the launch team with the publisher. So I read this one before I read the first book in the series, which I talked about in my November reading wrap-up. But it was really good. It had a really good story. It had really good faith elements. I don't have like the back of the book right here because I read it on ebook, and so I'm trying to think of their names. I can't think of either of their. Do you want his name? I think his name is Jack. The guy's name is Jack, and Delphine. Yeah, the girl's name is Delphine. So Delphine is the stewardess at this castle. It's a royal castle in a country whose name I forget. I'm sorry. And she hires Jack, who is a historian from England, to kind of be their historian. So they're researching a mystery, and they have to access English files, so they have to hire an English historian who has access to the English side of things. And so she hires them to kind of be a historian in residence and to be their kind of liaison for working with England to access these historical files. And things take off from there. Like I said, I loved the faith content in this book. It got me so hard. And you know what? This book has a fake dating trope, which is one of my least favorite tropes, only slightly above love triangles. They're both kind of well hated for me. And yet it made it into my top 10 list. So that tells you how good this book was. The fact that I don't even care it had a fake dating trope. Like, I loved it. So that was number 8. Number 7 is our dear friend Pepper Basham with Sense and Suitability. So this is, excuse me, her first Regency romance, and it is about Emmeline, who was kind of jilted very publicly a few seasons before, so her reputation's a little bit tarnished. You know, she didn't do anything wrong, but she was jilted, so you know. And then it's got the man who jilted her, Simon. He is a new aristocrat, not Aristocat, although I do love that movie. He's a new aristocrat because of the husband, the death of his, because of the death of his uncle. He has no money, and he has several younger siblings to support and an estate to rebuild, and so he needs to find a very rich wife, and he enlists Emmeline's help. And yeah, things take off from there. It's very entertaining. Which Pepper Basham always is. Number 6 is A Lesson in Propriety by Turano. This is book 1 in her Merriweather Academy for Young Ladies. It follows Drusilla Merriweather. Her father passed, she is one of the New York 400, very, very rich, but when her father passes away, his secretary takes off with all his money. And so her mom and her sisters and her have no money. But she's very prim and proper, and like the New York 400 thinks of her as like the one who did the best in finishing school. And so she decides, she has a property that her aunt left her, and she decides to turn it into a finishing school to support her family. And there is a little bit of mystery because somebody doesn't want her to have that property and they're pretending it's haunted. And then there's Mr. Rennick Wittenbecker, such a fun name. And he is an old friend of her aunt's who helps her out to figure out why people are trying to make her think that her property is haunted and what they want. And yes, as always with Turano books, it cracked me up. She always makes me laugh. She's so much fun, which is why her book came in at number 6. Number 5, we have The Heart of Bennet Hollow by Joanne Bischof. This was a really good book. It is a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in an 1800s coal town. And so, her name isn't Elizabeth. I think it's like Lisbeth or something. It's a variation, but it's not Elizabeth. And I forget what the exact variation is. But her father is a surveyor for the mines, and so he surveys the property for the mining town. And then we have a coal baron, I believe his name is William, who comes to town intending to buy the mines, well, bidding to buy it along with several other rich coal barons. And yeah, we have a little bit of a Pride and Prejudice story there. And it was just, I loved it so much because, and I've said this before, but there are kind of two different types of retellings when it comes to like literature retellings. You have the one retellings that are like kind of almost one-for-one copy and paste, but in a new setting. So like I read North Argyle Abbey at the beginning of the year, and that was a Northanger Abbey retelling, and that was more of like a one-for-one. It was a modern day retelling. It was a modern day royal retelling, so that was fun. But like it took the main plot points and the characters of mixing up the names, of Northanger Abbey, and it gave them a one-for-one twist in the modern royal retelling. So like the same plot twist happened and all this. But then you have these other kind of retellings, which is what The Heart of Bennet Hollow is where you just take inspiration from the original work and you make your completely, totally creative own work out of it. And that's what I felt The Heart of Bennet Hollow did. Like you could tell that it had the elements of Pride and Prejudice and inspiration from Pride and Prejudice, but it was a completely unique thing. It was a completely its own thing, and I loved that about it. So then we have book number 4, which is A Scheming in Parliament by Erica Vetsch. This is the second book in the Of Cloaks and Daggers series, and it was so good. We are once again catching up with Sir Bertrand, or Bertie, and Philippa as they do their spy thing. And I don't want to, spoil it too much because obviously this is the second book in a series following these characters. But they have a new case to work on, and it involves a lot of things. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But it was just so good. Erica Vetsch, she gets me, man. She's good. Her books are good. I love this book. Number 3, we are now in the trophy section, The bronze goes to Christmas at the Castle Library by Anne Swindell. This is the first book in the Castle Library series, so it comes before Love at the Castle Library. I read it just this month in December, and it was so good. It's a royal romance that involves books and history and a prince. And yeah, the mystery that they are studying in the second book is the same one they're studying in the first book, so I would definitely read them in order, which I did not do. But Yes, it was really good. It is my top third book. My top third book. My words today, they ain't coming. It was good. It hit slot number 3 for me this year. So, number 2, our silver book this year, goes to The Lawyer and the Laundress by Christine Hill Suntz. And first of all, I'm pretty sure this is her debut novel. So somebody's debut novel made 2nd place in my top 10 list, which is amazing. I have to give a shout out and props to her, because we all know that you get better as time goes by. The more you do something, the better you get. So the fact that her debut novel, her very first one, is like top 10 for me, like number 2 for me, I was like, okay, I cannot wait to see what you do next, because that's pretty amazing. Like, but this takes place in the 1800s in Canada. I think it takes place in Toronto, but don't quote me on that. And there is a laundress, I forget her name, but she's kind of hiding some secrets from her past, and she becomes friends with a young girl who, she works at a boarding house, and this young girl comes to the boarding house to have lessons with the boarding house owner's daughters. And she makes friends with her, and then she meets the little girl's father, who is a lawyer, and he does not like that his daughter is hanging out with a laundry girl. Like, he is like, that is so inappropriate, she is beneath us. But then his daughter gets sick, and he doesn't know how to help her, but he hears that this girl, this laundress, has had experience with this sickness before with people of her family, and so he calls her, and he's like, please come and help my daughter. And so she comes and she nurses him, and then one thing leads to another. This is a marriage of convenience story, and so they have a marriage of convenience for reasons that I won't get into because I don't want to spoil it, but they have a marriage of convenience, and it's kind of a slow burn of them, you know, as many marriage of convenience stories are in historical fiction, them learning how to live with each other and then slowly falling in love. It was just really good. It was really well written, and I cannot wait to see what this author does next. She has another book coming out this year from Bethany House. I think the title has something to do with like timber or forest, but I can't remember. It's not coming out at the beginning of the year, and I don't think a lot has been announced about it yet, but I did see the cover a few days ago. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to see what this author does next. So that was my number 2. My number 1 book this year, the gold book this year, is Midnight on the Scottish Shores by Sarah Sundin. And y'all, I read this book when it came out in February, and when I finished it, I was like, that's going to be the top book of this year. Like, I literally said to myself, I was like, a book is going to have to completely blow me away to take the top spot away from this book. Even way back at the beginning of the book, at the beginning of the year, way back at the beginning of the year, I knew that this was going to be, if not the top book this year, one of the top 3. And I was pretty sure it'd be the top book, because I was like, I'm gonna have to really, really, really be blown away for a book to beat this one. I loved this book. Oh my goodness, it was so good. Which, I mean, it's Sarah Sundin. This is a World War II novel, as all of her books are. She writes World War II, and she writes it well. It follows, I'm gonna say Sheila is her name. She is from the Netherlands, and she, excuse me, when the Netherlands becomes occupied, she wants a way out, and so she trains to become a spy for the Nazis. She does not support their cause, but her plan is, once she gets on English soil, to just disappear. She has family in England, and so she wants to have the Nazis basically get her out of the Netherlands to England, and then she'll basically fake her death or whatever and disappear, so that she can be out of the Nazi rule. However, it doesn't really work out. When she lands in Scotland, she is caught by the army, and Lieutenant Lachlan Mackenzie catches her, and he takes her in. And she tries to tell them that she's not really a Nazi, that she was just using that to get out of occupied territory. But of course, you know, they don't believe her. What they do is they turn her into a double agent, which is basically they turn her back against the Nazis. So they give her information that she then feeds to the Nazis as a Nazi spy. But it's the information that the Allies want the Nazis to have, you know. And she is more than happy to do this because she wants to fight the Nazis. So yeah, you have this kind of, it was just so good because like the Allies don't really believe her. She's trying to convince them of her loyalty, but obviously she has the fact that she was trained as a Nazi spy against her. And so you have this kind of push and pull, enemies to lovers kind of thing. But it's not an enemies to lovers in a way of, oh, I don't like this person for whatever reason and they annoy me so much. But wait, maybe they don't annoy me so as much as I thought, as a lot of enemies to lovers are. It's literally we are on, at least as far as we know, we are on opposing sides of a war, and we can't match up our views of each other with the evidence we're given, at least on his side. On her side, she knows they're on the same side, but she can't convince him of that. But yeah, it was... I'm gonna gush. It was complex, and it was deep, and it was like riveting. Like, I read it so fast, I kept turning the pages. I wanted to know what happened. It's good, y'all. It fully deserves the top spot on my list this year. Like, I cannot recommend it to you enough. So, that was my top 10 books of 2025. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for listening to my babbling about books and even being patient when my brain spits out the wrong word, as it does. I want to know what your top books were this year. I would love to chat about it in the comments. Please let me know, and let's see what 2026 brings.